"Do not enter after dark," the owner's note had warned. Hannah had laughed it off, dismissing it as the paranoia of a stressed-out homeowner. But now, driving down the desolate road leading to the property, a sinking feeling began to claw its way into her chest. Something about the silence beyond the storm seemed wrong, too heavy, as if the night itself were watching her. Her GPS beeped. "You have arrived." The house loomed ahead like a sleeping giant. It was a Victorian monstrosity, its once grand facade now a crumbling shadow of itself. The windows were dark, the paint peeling, and the front porch sagged under years of neglect. Hannah hesitated for a moment before grabbing her flashlight. "Just a quick look," she muttered, stepping out into the rain. The wind howled, pushing her toward the door as if the house were beckoning her closer. She noticed the lock on the front door was rusted but loose, as though someone, or something, had already been inside. Inside, the air was suffocatingly stale, thick with the scent of mildew and something else she couldn't quite place. A metallic tang that made her stomach churn. Her flashlight's beam wavered across the room, revealing dusty furniture shrouded in white sheets. Her heart skipped a beat as she spotted something unusual. A small wooden chair positioned in the center of the room, facing a blank wall. On the seat sat a single object, a recorder, its red light blinking faintly. "Seriously?" she whispered, unnerved but curious. She picked it up, noticing that it was already recording. When she pressed the stop button, the recorder hissed with static before a voice crackled through. "Hannah!" She dropped it with a gasp, the device clattering to the floor. That voice, low, rasping, and undeniably male, had said her name. But how? No one knew she was here. Her pulse pounded as she backed toward the door, but then she heard it, a creak above her. Someone, or something, was upstairs. "Hello?" she called out, her voice trembling. Silence. She didn't wait for a reply. Fumbling with the doorknob, she tried to leave, but the door wouldn't budge. Panic set in as she yanked and twisted, but it was as if the house itself refused to let her go. Then came the footsteps. Slow, measured. They descended the staircase, each step echoing through the empty halls. Hannah turned, her flashlight darting toward the sound, but the beam only illuminated the swirling dust in the air. "Who's there?" she demanded, her voice cracking. A faint whisper brushed past her ear. "You shouldn't have come." She spun around, but no one was there. The footsteps stopped at the base of the stairs, yet the space was empty. The air grew colder, her breath now visible as fear clawed at her throat. The recorder, still lying on the floor, clicked back on. This time, the voice was louder, clearer. "Do you hear it? The house listens, Hannah. And now it knows you." "Stop it!" she screamed, grabbing the device and hurling it against the wall. It shattered, but the voice didn't stop. Instead, it seemed to seep from the very walls, whispering her name over and over. She ran, bolting into the next room, desperate for an exit. But every door she tried was locked. The windows wouldn't budge either, as though the house had swallowed her whole. In the dim light, she noticed something strange. The wallpaper. At first glance, it seemed like a typical floral pattern, but as she got closer, the shapes distorted. The flowers were faces, twisted, anguished faces screaming silently. A loud bang erupted behind her, and she turned to see the wooden chair from earlier. It had moved, now positioned in the middle of the room. Her flashlight flickered, plunging her into brief darkness. When the light returned, she gasped. The faces on the wallpaper had moved. Their eyes followed her, mouths opening and closing as if trying to warn her. A sudden noise drew her attention, a soft, rhythmic tapping, like fingernails on wood. It was coming from the walls. No, not the walls. Inside them. She pressed her ear against the surface, trembling. Tap, tap, tap. And then she heard it. Faint whispers, too many voices to count, all speaking at once, words she couldn't understand, words that made her head throb and her vision blur. She stumbled back, clutching her ears. The chair moved again, scraping loudly across the floor as if propelled by invisible hands. "I don't want to be here," she screamed, tears streaming down her face. The house responded. The walls groaned, the floor beneath her trembling as if alive. A deep guttural voice echoed through the house, drowning out the whispers. "No one leaves. Not until the house is full." Her flashlight went out, plunging her into total darkness.